Hello, folks. We've got Christopher Timms with us today, and his title is Living in the Present Moment. Now, I heard Christopher and I, first of all, have been friends for a long time, and I heard him speak at the metaphysical group this past week. He was there the previous week to hear me speak about Anastasia. But again, the topic for today, his topic is living in the present moment, and I'm going to let him talk about that. Thank you, Christopher.
Sure, Ron. It's good to be able to hang out a little bit again. And, in the world today, we are so intensely bombarded by things that are coming at us at all levels, political, social, economic, environmental, every level that you can construct, put together, you're getting hit with information and it's not just information, it's drama. It's drama. And drama looks to seduce us either because we hate what's going on or because we love what's going on or because we're afraid of what's going on. It doesn't matter. All of those are hooks which seduce you into the drama. And whenever we get pulled into a drama, we get pulled out of the present moment. You think, as you're listening to this video right now with Ron and I, that you're in the present moment. You're not in the present moment. At the very best, if you're really present, listening to our conversation right now, you're a few nanoseconds behind the present moment. Because the true present moment is like a film. It's a film meaning like a membrane that has no form. It is a very malleable medium, much like water. If you've ever seen the Stargate television show, that's illustrated very, very well. It's called the event horizon, and that's a present moment. And what happens is that we continuously move through this membrane, this aqueous layer, if you will. As we move through this membrane, we're departing our viewpoint of where we've been, and we're arriving somewhere that we've never been before. Now, there's this deep continuity to the experience that we have, and these segments of time as we depart and arrive, fluidly throughout the day, these segments seamlessly go together, and we never really notice this because we're seduced into all the dramas that's going on around us. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we don't really see the true present moment. This true present moment, which is this stargate, which is this membrane that we move through, has no form. It has no definition. It is the opened canvas, the empty stage. And you're the illustrator. And you bring with you not so much what you want to have happen, anything like that. That's included in the recipe. But fundamentally, the overwhelming amount of leverage is you bring with you who you think you are, your definitions of self, all these conscious, subconscious, unconscious ingredients that are in your recipe, like a big picnic basket that you're taking with you into the present moment. And that's the unfolding that happens each moment of each day. And you're doing this sub and unconsciously 99% of it, of course, because when people live in misery, how many people would choose to live in misery and poverty and sickness and all this stuff consciously if they knew that all they had to do was redirect the leverage into another probability that exists right here. An open canvas has what? Has limitless possibilities.
Till you finish the artwork.
That's right. That's right. And if we finish the artwork with yesterday, then tomorrow is going to look just like yesterday. That's just physics. That's true metaphysics. And we're told just the opposite. And this is the point we brought up at the talk the other Sunday night, Ron, is that I've taught for 29 years now all over the world that people have been conditioned by what I would call the matrix out here to analyze and to truly invest themselves in trying to figure out why things have happened to them. Why? So you can not repeat that again. And that makes sense to our psychology. I got to figure out why this happened, because I don't ever want to do this again. It makes sense to the psychology, but the psychology, there's a great disparagement between the psychology and the physics. The physics of energy just has to do with resonance, dominant field, leverage, all of these simple things. But psychology doesn't consider those things. And what happens is the more you invest yourself in the analysis, the processing, and the understanding of what you call your past, these events, situations, concerns you've been involved in, then you become more attached to them because of your investment, whether you think you are or not. People think they let go of things, but they really don't. They're more invested in a subtler current. So then they take those things with them, because now they become precious because you've worked on them really hard, to understand yourself. And now you carry this with you, and now you just rebroadcast all of these principles and qualities onto the open canvas of this moment. And I've seen it all over the world for 29 years now, teaching professionally. And as I watch this go on, it's just tragic, because not only in psychology are we taught to do that, but we're taught all about this in New Age and New Thought and in religious life. And it's just common sense, they call it, in the culture, to want to analyze and process something so you don't repeat a mistake. But really, if you look at the way a young child lives, a child like your grandchildren, they don't do that. They just look at the discovery in the moment, and they're not even considering any of this stuff. And it's amazing to watch them, because we both have grandkids. It's amazing to watch the grandkids just discover, and then they discover more, and they discover more, and they discover, and they're so fluid. They're so open to everything. And as they get older, they get conditioned to this identity, and you can watch it. Yes. And I watch it happen. My oldest grandchild is 9, and then I have a 6-year-old, and I watch the process of identity coagulation, begin to happen. Where they begin to have self and other really clearly now. And it's really interesting, as that affects the dynamics of them walking through this present moment. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is part of the huge epidemic that's really acute right now in society, is this preoccupation with the past and all that we think that comes with it. And
it's very hard, though, to only focus on the present. On the future. And to be in the present when you're, or you say that we shouldn't even look ahead. And
yeah, not really, because if we look ahead, we're looking
not in the present moment either.
We're not in the present moment either, and we're looking with eyes that have considerations of all that you've been through in your life and everything that I've been through. And again, I learned from the kids, and I learned from nature. Nature is just rediscovering itself, and that doesn't mean I throw out my common sense, and what I've developed within myself. And yet I can say, but, I hold that I work to not be entangled by my past, so that I carry only the ingredients of that I really do cherish and that really serve me well into my present moment, not the whole analysis of, oh my God, how could this have ever happened to me? Mm-hmm. And those form the vector, the directional heading that shoot us through the Stargate onto this branch or this branch or this branch of the tree of life. And it's just, to me, it's spiritual ABCs. I think everybody should hear this stuff at the beginning of their journey to show us how powerful we are, how amazing we are, and how we enter in.
How easily we're controlled by the process that we've been enslaved by.
Oh yeah, we've been ingrained to be easy. That's very well put, Ron. Yeah, we're ingrained to be seduced really by the culture around us in all ways. The advertising on television, on radio, and in media, and on the internet. Everything is to recruit you, to leverage you into that way of living. Whatever that way is in that moment on that advertising, and we're so prone to that. We're so prone to that. We're perfectly ripened for that.
What we're used to.
Yeah.
We've been raised in that environment, and it's difficult to go anywhere else and to see from the present moment only. By the way, I want you to mention for folks, because you have periodical workshops and seminars that take place over a weekend or a week even sometimes, I believe. And mention that to people, so that I want people to be able to follow up. One of the comments on my recent videos that you were at when I did this, when I finally got them up a week late, somebody commented, "I really liked the guy that was speaking between 10 and 14 minutes." Well, that was you. And I focused back. I said, "Well, I'm going to be doing a video with him. The next video is going to be with you," because he was very impressed by what you were saying during that about a 4-minute gap that he drew my attention back to.
Cool. So, that's very nice. That's very nice. And well, thank you for that. And again, as Ron said, my name is Christopher Timms, and my website is www.christophertimms.com. And the main event that's coming up for me is in the fall. In October, I'm doing a retreat.
That's the 1 week thing, right?
Yeah, well, no, it starts on the 11th of October and goes to the 15th. The 11th starts with a dinner.
It's a 5-day thing.
Yeah, so people will be checking in during that day. We'll have our meet, greet, and our dinner on the 11th. And then we go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, full on, 12 hours each day. And that includes meals. It includes everything. It's an all-inclusive thing. And then Sunday morning, we have brunch, visit with each other, and closing ceremony, and we're done. So that's what that is. That'll be in Black Mountain, North Carolina. And it's at a beautiful historic YMCA center that has these glorious buildings, lodges. So everybody will be together in this lodge. All the meals are catered. It's all buffet style, all you can eat. There's vegetarian options, vegan options, all the options you could ever want. It's all right there. And
no meat options?
No, there are meat options. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're not trying to put everybody into a vegan or vegetarian?
No. All you guys can eat anything that you want. It'll be wonderful. We're making sure everybody's accommodated.
Right.
And, plus, I teach for free every Monday night. It's live and it's online. People from around the world are on those calls. I get hundreds of people on these calls.
How long do they usually last? A couple hours, I would imagine.
They start at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and they go till 8 p.m. is my teaching. And then almost dead on the money at 8 or to 8:02, I shift to Q&A, and I take Q&A for a half an hour. And the topics vary from things that people send me in as to what they'd like to have me speak upon, to things that I think are on the pulse of what's happening in the world, the spiritual world, and the metaphor and the symbolism behind a lot of what's happening in life. I try to keep people in good spiritual foundations in the Monday night calls, as well as looking into life, developing the symbolist's view, the right brain view of looking at life. So that's always happening. And yes, Ron, you're right. There are also usually monthly workshops that I teach. That's all online.
Yeah, you've been doing this. I mean, I've known you for several years, at least, maybe a couple decades even. I don't know.
Yeah, you've known me for 17, 18 years.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. I mean, it's been a good while. Of course, I used to be very much involved in the spiritual community. And so I really had my fingers into and connected with a lot of people.
You did.
And you were one of the ones. Of course, a lot of that diminished since I got involved with the ambassador, and then had my stroke and health challenges and stuff like that. But
Life changes.
yeah, I've gone through a lot of changes, and I expect to go through some more. I'm still trying to stay positive, and expect very significant good changes for humanity that open us up more and provide more abundance for the average person.
I hope so too, and I think that's part of the inevitability, because without turning our conversation into the cabal and all of that kind of stuff, which we could Ron and I could talk about for the next 8 hours nonstop. The energy of the Piscean age, as expressed through the multinational corporations, the cabal, the Federal Reserve, all these governments, Trilateral Commission, CFR, all of it, they're all compressive, all right, and they've all sought to squeeze out what's called the middle class in all the countries, all over Europe, all over the North America, and you see that as they experimented in South America. And Venezuela is just insane. They're not only, there are no pets anymore in Venezuela because everybody's eating them. And I
didn't know that. I had a friend who got so frustrated living in Venezuela that moved to Costa Rica.
Yeah, and also in Venezuela, people don't know this, because unless they listen to alternative news or really study it and fact check, they won't know. But the people actually overran the zoos, and they actually ate all the animals in the zoos. They actually ate the giraffes. They actually ate the bears. They ate everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's how bad it gets. And the reason I'm saying this, everyone, is because that's old energy that is seeking to express what can be called tyranny. Tyranny is when you push out a middle class of people like us who can work and have a nice standard of living and be comfortable and think freely, see? And when people can't think freely because they're squeezed down into a fight or flight, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you have to just worry about your survival each and every day, you're not going to think. You're not going to problem solve. You're not going to see how to improve your life. You're just trying to survive.
Right.
And a lot of those things that were really experimented on in South America, because it was a perfect breeding ground for it after World War II, that was all set up and done. And that's all becoming more and more evident now as the internet makes information, if not accurate information, still information that people can go, wait a minute, okay, is this really happening? And they begin to think. And there's enough of us still in what we could call a middle class of people that have a reasonably comfortable lifestyle to think freely, like Ron, like myself, like many of us, particularly in the Western world. And that's enough to contribute to a collective consciousness to really hold a space for great change. And
that's you're saying really that the Piscean age was an age of compression.
Yes,
I can see that. So now, as we move into the Aquarian age, we're moving into an expansion.
Absolutely. Opposite. And in an expansion, everything that has been hidden in the compression is being revealed. Right. All the corruption in government, the corruption in the banks, the corruption in the religions, the corruption in the pharmaceutical industry, the corruption of the Federal Reserve, corruption, and the out of balance of the patriarchal dominance of all aspects of culture. Again, we could do all this for the next 8 hours, really.
Yeah, right. I know.
Because Ron knows an awful lot about all this, of course, too. But what's so beautiful is that the symbolism of what's happening now upon us helps us reveal what has been hidden so that we can be more present.
Be in the present moment. Yeah.
See? And that's how we tie back into what really the teaching is about. And that what Ron asked me to focus upon in our time together today is that when we're compressed, when you're just trying to feed your family, when you're just barely trying to make your car payment or just barely holding on,
survive, which is actually, it's easy to survive, but the monetary system makes it difficult.
That's right. And we're heading into a time where if everyone takes care of their physical health to the best of their abilities, if they just begin to make better and better decisions that fit more with the vibrational changes that are happening, simple things. I'm not asking anybody to do what I do, and Ron knows I'm an extremist. I'm 59 and I bury everybody at the gym who's half my age, and so as we're working in this way together to be healthy and strong, you make yourself available for this energy and for the opportunities that await us on the other side of the next event horizon. That's just, I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic, and I love my rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, well, I've been seeing through rose-colored glasses most of my life, and of course, when I lost my home, that was worse than the health challenges.
Yes, of course.
That was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, and I began to question everything. But I still resented when people would try to push an idea on me, like my son did for some time, and some of his friends and other of my friends would try to put me in a box of their construct that didn't fit with my perception of what I still wanted some of the old paradigm stuff to be true, some of the religious connotations and stuff like that to be the reality. And I had to come to the realization that much even in the religious thing, and that's going to be the hardest challenge for people as we go through the changes, the people that are fixed on a religion, it doesn't even matter which one.
No.
If they're fixed on a religion and they think that the religion is the only one that's right, and that's the one that came from God. That whole concept is what creates an inability to grow.
And I'll contend with that New Age is a religion too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's caused a whole lot of suffering for a whole lot of people. And the easiest way to explain what I'm talking about, because I know everybody goes, well, what are you talking about? New Age. Well, New Age perpetuates separation. They talk about oneness, and it's very nice. It's all kumbaya. We're all together, and it's wonderful. But yet, everything becomes about the little self, the temporary self, your mission, your purpose, your karma, your contracts, your issues, your dramas, you. And this is the age of Aquarius. It's not about you and your stuff. It's about you and the divine self, the true sovereign man, the true sovereign being, which is a glorious divine.
Which is us.
Right.
But yet the us with the personal identity not eliminated.
No.
But actually magnified in such a way that it balances. It comes into harmony rather than constantly at war with.
That's what the spiritual teachers in this time have to be able to find, that equilibrium within themselves. They have to discover that. They have to live in that. Is this idea that the ego or the personality is not the enemy. It just has to be trained properly.
Exactly.
And because I have a huge ego, okay? And people go, well, what are you talking about? And because the Buddhists will tell you that you can't get rid of your ego. What you have to do is diminish its role in your life, because the ego is your friend. It's your personality. And exactly. This is Buddhist psychology, and it is Western psychology as well. They can't, it's been distorted. You can't get rid of your ego. If Ron got rid of his ego, he would be a puddle of amino acids laying on the floor. All right. And that would just be ridiculous. And you'd have no strength, no substance, no being, no spice. The idea.
By the way, it's 24 and a half minutes.
Yeah, I know. Let's just do a couple more minutes, and then I'll get ready for my next appointment, everyone. I really appreciate Ron taking the time to work with me to have this great conversation. let's just let's clear up ego for everybody so they don't go off kind of half loaded with the whole thing.
Okay, very good.
The trick to ego is realizing that it is your ally, not your adversary. And the trick to ego is realizing that you're not here to be mediocre. And to handle the power of Ron's personality, you have to have a big ego. I have to have a big ego. When I walk into a room, I command the room. I'm a big alpha male, you know, and I am the master of my domain, meaning that I don't open my mouth unless I know what I'm talking about. If I want to learn something from Ron, I am the greatest of all students. If I'm going to learn something from a nutrition guy or my acupuncturist or something, I listen in honest openness. And yet, when I open my mouth and I'm ready to do what I'm going to do, I'm the authority. I'm the authority. And yet, this authority, this ego, this personality doesn't even really exist. That's the key. So get this, everybody. That's the key to freedom, to understanding your freedom, is to be this huge personality, because you're not here to be mediocre. You're not here to be just kind of medium or lukewarm. You're here to be on fire for your life, to be filled with your life. And that's big. That's big. That's amazing. That's fabulous. That's wonderful. And yet you realize through the insights of this divine essence that you really are, that all of that scripting, none of that stuff really even exists. So that's the key. Is I realized that all of my great Chris opinions and all of my great Chris enlightenment and all my great Chris strength and fitness and everything else, none of it even really exists. So I'm just free to be me, playing, kind of like the cosmic toddler.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I hope we can make some more videos in the future. I want to get back to maybe even getting 50-50, where I'm having other people join me and 50% just doing them by myself.
Absolutely.
So I know Aristo is going to be up for tomorrow if everything goes okay in Greece. But today we had Christopher Timms, and I appreciate that. And thank you all for listening. And any parting word, Christopher?
Just, Ron, it's just great to be able to spend some time with you, because we haven't been able to speak really at all for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so any opportunity that you would like to sit down and have a conversation that we can share with everyone, I think it's always fun. It's a good thing to do. So thank you for having me.
And thank you all for listening, and namaste.
Namaste.